thing about it, a king don't chase a peasant. King chase kings. I want Joshua.
Down to right forever winning. What up? Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news!
Okay, we'll start with this. Haven't even had the time to process this news, but HBO may not air Kovalev-Alvarez rematch. Negotiations are ongoing. HBO has televised Kovalev's past 14 fights either live or on network or on pay-per-view. Kovalev's streak of consecutive appearances on that premium cable network could end there. Main Event CEO Kathy Duva, Kovalev's promoter, told BoxingScene.com on Friday that the network has declined its contractual option to air a light heavyweight championship rematch between Kovalev and Eleider Alvarez, who knocked out Kovalev in the 7th round August 4th in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Duva and Peter Nelson, HBO Sports Executive Vice President, are negotiating to air a second WBO light heavyweight title bout between Kovalev and Alvarez for a lower license fee. There's a quirk in the contract, and it basically gives them the right to that fight for a much higher number than they would want to pay, Duva said. So what they're doing is just a maneuver in negotiations. They still have the right to match another offer. They're just keeping their options open. That's basically what they're doing. They have the matching rights. Russia's Kovalev exercised his contractual option recently for an immediate rematch versus Alvarez, which must take place by February. Duva can shop the Kovalev-Alvarez rematch to competing networks, but HBO has the right to match whichever offers she receives. We're in the middle of negotiations right now, Duva said. However this turns out, we'll see. I don't want to get into a whole bunch of stuff about our negotiations, what's going on, and any of that stuff. But once we have a deal, everyone will know. You know, this is probably the first time I've talked about this news, that Sergey Kovalev has decided to invoke his immediate rematch clause, that he wants a rematch and he wants it now. You know, this is really the first time I've had the chance to talk about this, process it, and digest it, because I haven't even discussed it, even though I saw the news a couple of days ago. But I'll tell you, first let's just tackle this network stuff. I'm not stuck on the network stuff, because I feel that one way or another, that's an issue that is going to resolve itself. Whether HBO picks up the fight, or Duva shops the fight around to some other network or some other platform, one way or another, somebody's gonna pick this thing up, even if HBO decides not to. One way or another, that's an issue that will resolve itself. So that doesn't really have my attention more than other elements of this fight.
I feel like it'll just resolve itself.
The most I can add to this broadcasting network thing is, maybe HBO doesn't want to be in the Sergey Kovalev business anymore. Maybe they don't want to be in that business anymore because he's not the same guy that he used to be. Thus, they want to keep their options open. Maybe that's what it is. He was beaten by a more obscure fighter than himself, Eleider Alvarez. And while guys like me and you know that Eleider Alvarez is a solid contender, now a champion, while guys like me and you know of Eleider Alvarez, to the networks, this is still an obscure guy. This is a guy that doesn't necessarily have a whole bunch of commercial appeal. A guy with a huge fan base that they want to get invested in. He's not that guy. So they may be looking at this situation, and they may be looking at this fight as, we don't know if we want to be involved in this because, Sergey's not what he used to be, and this guy, nobody knows this guy. It could be that way. Now, I don't say that to slight Eleider Alvarez. I just think that there are certain realities to be addressed here. That maybe HBO, and how they're treating this fight, maybe that's what the reason is. I can only speculate. But like I said, I feel like one way or another, the fight will find a platform, the fight itself will find a home, whether it's with HBO or otherwise. I believe that as long as the fight is going to be made, there will be a place to see the fight. So I'm not even stuck on the network stuff. It's the fight itself that I find intriguing. And yes, I am intrigued by this fight. Here are the reasons why. It's not like Sergey Kovalev didn't have moments in that fight, you understand? It's not like he didn't. It wasn't a one-sided beating or a demoralizing event. It wasn't that kind of situation. Sergey did have moments. He had pockets of success. There were moments where he was boxing well, but it appears like he was a man that just got caught. And we all know that this is a wild card in the sport of boxing, that sometimes a guy, you just get caught. And that's what makes the rematch intriguing. So ahead of the rematch, you have to ask, did Eleider Alvarez get lucky? Is that what it was? Did he get lucky? And can Sergey beat him in the rematch? It's an intriguing question. Now, I already know that as soon as I ask that question, you guys feel a certain way. You may feel that, no, Sergey's not going to win the rematch. His days are all but done. There are going to be those people, and there are going to be other people on the side of that argument that entertain the possibility that he might win the rematch because he wasn't doing bad, up until he got caught.
It happens.
Myself, I take a more
Matter of fact,
realistic approach. That as I'm looking at who Sergey Kovalev has become in the sport of boxing, as I watch him become who he is today, what I feel is that this is a fighter that is no longer bankable. That he has bankable qualities, and those bankable qualities that we've become accustomed to seeing, those qualities may avail him against a certain caliber of fighter. A Shabransky, a McCalkin. But him losing this fight to a later Alvarez, a fight that I thought he was gonna win.
admittedly,
Him losing this fight, he's not a bankable fighter anymore. So ahead of a rematch, I'm looking at him in a very, matter-of-fact kind of way that I can't trust this guy to secure the victories anymore. That unless he's in there with guys like Shabransky and guys like McCalkin, he is no longer a bankable fighter. Pre-Andre Ward, people probably would have picked Sergey Kovalev to beat just about anybody in the light heavyweight division. That is pre-Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev. But post-Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, you don't get the sense that you can trust this guy. He lost those 2 fights, and he made his way back. He got himself a world title. He piled up 2 victories. But this was his first legitimate test. This was the first legitimate test where the other guy had a shot. You understand? The McCalkin fight, the Shabransky fight, those are easy picks to make. But this was the fight where there actually was an element of danger. And this was the fight that was supposed to tell us, where is Sergey really at? Can he really come back from losing to Andre Ward those 2 times? This was the fight that was supposed to tell us that, and we see how it all worked out. So you have to ask yourselves the same question that I'm asking myself. If I really believed that Sergey Kovalev could win a rematch, then how much money would I be willing to bet on that? How much? Would I even be willing to bet on him at all? Essentially, the question is, do you trust Sergey Kovalev with your money?
oh my God.
Do you think that he can go into the rematch and secure the victory? Is that what you believe? And if that is what you believe, how much would you be willing to bet on it? Now, obviously, I cannot answer that question for you guys. I can only speak for myself, and I'm speaking for myself when I say that I don't trust Sergey to win this fight. I don't. In spite of what happened in the first fight, the pockets of success that he had, when I heard that he was invoking his rematch clause, I didn't get the sense that he was really going to get that back. So while I'm trying to digest this news, my preliminary thoughts in regards to the fight is, it can go either way. But what the feeling that I have in my gut is I can't trust Sergey to win the fight. That doesn't mean that he won't win. That doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't pick him. But the feeling that I've got is, one way or another, I don't trust him as much as I used to. And you know what? I thought he was going to win the fight with the later, and he didn't. He didn't. So ahead of a rematch, what kind of odds can you give him to do any better? I don't know, man. We're just gonna have to wait and see. In other news, Anthony Joshua wants Deontay Wilder after Alexander Povetkin. He is quoted as saying, "We have to fight. There's no 2 ways about it," Joshua told Sky News. Remember, we've been negotiating since I fought Carlos Takam last year. I've been trying to get a fight with Wilder. It's been ongoing for a long time. It feels difficult. That is why I know the strategy is for him to fight Fury after a 3-year layoff. He's got a good chance of beating him. It will boost his profile, so when he comes back to the negotiation table, he'll have a better leg to stand on. Tyson Fury's strategy is to put some money in the bank after a 3-year layoff. He'll continue talking rubbish as he does in the long run. Thunder strikes and it continues to strike. It's not like they've stolen the limelight. There's enough on the table for everyone to eat, in my opinion. Now, Eddie Hearn touched on this potential fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, and according to Eddie Hearn, Wilder's people have gone silent. The communications are not open. They are not responding to Eddie Hearn.
What do you see in the future for AJ?
Well, we want the Wilder fight. When we talk about legacy is becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
You've got till about, I think, December time to sign for April the 13th at Wembley. Is that true?
No, because we're not fighting him on April 13th because he does not want to fight us.
100% our first choice is to fight Deontay Wilder, and it's going to become more and more difficult. So all we're asking the Wilder team is just come back to us. And we can't make the fight if you won't communicate.
The only way me and Joshua were going to fight if you guys force it.
Fans.
The fans. Force it.
Well, I think the fans want it. So we might force it.
Yeah, they want it. They want it, but they don't want it bad enough.
Now, you guys out there, you can make of that what you will. You can look at all the facts presented to you. You can do your own independent research, and you can come to your own conclusions. But you've come here, so I'm assuming you want to know what I think about this fight. What could the future hold? Well, look, Deontay Wilder is supposedly in deep negotiations to fight with Tyson Fury. That's what's supposed to be going on. So, before we even get into another situation where Team Wilder and Team Joshua are haggling with each other, this Fury fight has to come off first. And we don't even know if that's a fight that actually is going to come off. The news regarding that fight has slowed as of late. You had guys about 2 weeks ago saying the fight is all but done. It's definitely happening. And you had images being released of a face-off, a gloves are off episode between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. You had images of that. But as time has progressed, the developments in the news regarding that fight, it has slowed down. The only reason that people, the most recent news regarding that fight was Dan Raphael saying that he heard it on good authority that Tyson Fury is having cold feet and that he may want to take a fight before a Wilder fight. And then Fury, he took to social media and then he dispelled those rumors. But as far as tangible news, when should we expect to see this fight? And where should we expect to see this fight? That news, it has slowed as of late. So before we even start getting back into a Wilder versus Joshua conversation, developments between Wilder and Fury have to happen first.
Obviously.
So while Anthony Joshua might be hopeful that they can make some progress, while he might be hopeful that he can secure a Wilder fight for that April date, that all hinges on whether or not the Tyson Fury fight comes off. Because if the fight doesn't come off, then Wilder's still at square one then. He won't have made any tangible progress that could affect any tangible change.
Sorry.
Oh, I imagine that maybe, just maybe, even if the fight doesn't come off,
with Fury,
I still feel like Hearn would improve on the original offer. Call me crazy. But I think that he would, because Wilder's got a lot of people talking about him right now. So I think that he could get an improvement even if the fight with Fury doesn't come off.
He might.
I just don't think that it's going to be the kind of number that Wilder's looking for.
Remember.
Wilder's looking for half. He made that very clear.
Remember.
And the only way that you're going to get close to that number is if you actually do fight Tyson Fury, which is in the air. We really don't know. A lot of us are very skeptical. But it's if you actually do fight Fury and that fight actually is a success. But it's at that point that the conversation itself stagnates. It plateaus. It then just becomes a matter of variables, intangibles, things that we have no reference point of, no landmark. Because these guys, they haven't given a date, they haven't given a venue, and until they do, until they confirm it that they are going to fight,
when and where,
that all of this isn't just a PR stunt that they fabricated to raise their profile with the boxing public, until they confirm that this is for real, that they are gonna fight, then it's hard to get a grip on what could happen in a second set of negotiations between Wilder and
Team Joshua.
And that's why for me, discussing this fight between Wilder and Joshua at this point, it just seems redundant, because whatever is going to go on with that fight, it's going to be based upon what does or doesn't happen with Tyson Fury. It's going to be based on that, and until we see movement on that, there's not even a point in talking about that fight. Wilder's fans and members of the LDBC, they can sit there crying and complaining all fucking day and making 15 and 30-minute videos engaged in a spirited game of he said, she said. They might want to do that shit, but I don't. I don't want to discuss some shit that's not tangible yet. Some shit that I'm not sure is going to come into fruition yet. If the focal point right now for Deontay Wilder's career, if that is in fact
Fury,
what we're supposed to be seeing him do next, then we don't need to discuss anything past that.
Now.
Right now, what we're trying to find out is if he really is going to fight Tyson Fury and when, so that we can gauge what effect that fight will have on the Joshua fight. But until that point, there's nothing to talk about. At least, nothing new to talk about. I know there's motherfuckers out there that want to sit there and argue about this shit all day because they really think that they're right. You understand? That's the Jedi mind trick that Deontay Wilder has pulled over some of these guys. That they actually think this is a man that makes sense. I mean, I can look at this guy's net worth and see that the guy doesn't make fucking sense. And I can see all the bullshit and all the bullshitting and see that it doesn't make sense. But these guys can't. And it's for that reason that they can sit here arguing about this shit all fucking day. When what I see is...
We're not fighting him on April 13th because he does not want to fight us.
Does the winner between you and Tyson face Joshua in April for that Wembley Stadium booking?
When I win, it's not gonna happen. If Fury wins, then it may happen. You know, that's just the situation that we in.
But they won't come back to us. There seems to be no urgency, no desire for them to make that fight.
Has there been any progress? If the answer is no, then I don't fucking want to talk about it.